Ukraine has set out its plan for victory in the war against Russia. It did that during a special session of the UN Security Council in New York this week. Vasyl Myroshnychenko is Ukraine's ambassador to Australia. He joins us now from Canberra to tell us more. Mr. Ambassador, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael.
2.5 years into this conflict, how confident is Ukraine of victory in the end?
Ukrainians are confident that truth will prevail and that justice will prevail. And that was the address of President Zelenskyy at the special session of the UN Security Council, where he was appealing to the global community for Russia to uphold the UN Charter. He was pretty clear. He said there is only one UN Charter there, and all the principles of territorial integrity as well as sovereignty are out there. And there is no separate charter for Russia or Iran, or no separate charter for G7. There is just one universal one. And the reason he appealed to everybody, asking for action, asking for determination, because this is what is needed, a concerted effort to make sure that we can force Russia into peace.
Speaking of determination, we also heard from the US President Joe Biden at the UN, Mr. Ambassador, where he urged world leaders not to grow weary, his word, of the conflict. Is that a worry by Ukrainian leaders?
Absolutely, and now is the right time to step up, because at the end of the day, if we act now during the next 2-3 months, we will decide and define what's going to happen during the next decade, because the act of aggression against Ukraine is something which is consequential. And if Russia succeeds in Ukraine, it will embolden other authoritarian leaders in the world, including here in the Indo-Pacific, to use force to change borders. And this is something unacceptable. This is something that Australia cannot afford. And this is not in the interest of any nation out there.
OK, given the stakes as you described them, what more would you like from countries like Australia?
As we're getting into the winter, and winter is coming, Russians are destroying our energy systems, and we really value the contribution that Australia has made to support our energy infrastructure. But more of that help will be needed. Specifically, Ukraine has been asking for decommissioned equipment or any kind of sort of help. Australian support has been great so far. What is important is that that it continues to be so.
OK, well, what more would you like? Australia's already provided various forms of assistance worth more than $1 billion. If you could ask the Prime Minister directly, what more would you want?
You know, recently I was in Kyiv and everybody asked, the people I met, they've asked me to pass on the gratitude to Australians and the Australian government. There could be some protected vehicles, some tanks or any ammunition that is available for Ukraine. But it's certainly up to the Australian government to decide what they can provide. It's now what is important is that support is continued, and this is the main call to the Australian government.
Your biggest supporter is the United States. We have an election there coming up. As you well know, Donald Trump, the Republican candidate and former president, has repeatedly refused to say whether he wants Ukraine to win, and in a speech just in the last couple of days, he has pointed out that Russia in the past has beaten the likes of Hitler and Napoleon. If Donald Trump returns to the White House, would this be a cause for concern for Ukraine?
What is a cause for concern is unpredictability, and Ukraine's victory is in the national interest of America, not of any particular party. So we really hope that no matter what the outcome of the elections will be, United States will remain strong supporter of Ukraine. And it's currently what we are facing as we are seeing, how Putin has really destroyed the whole international rules-based international order, and the global security was undermined. It's really is sending the repercussions here in the Indo-Pacific and everywhere else. Because if one country can change borders by force, others will be emboldened to do the same thing. And we see that cooperation with Iran, with North Korea, and with other authoritarian countries. And this must be of concern to anybody, to the U.S. leadership, or whichever leadership is there, to Australia and other countries which are out there, making sure that democracy is preserved, that human rights are respected, and the rule of law is there.